A manifestation of the Virgin Mary is said to have occurred in California, and the message she left is not something you will see in the news or hear from major media outlets. There is a recent event at the heart of this nation's decision-making that many try to keep hidden, and it could profoundly alter the course of everything we know. What reached me came through paths that few can reach, and it was no coincidence that you found this video now. Among so much content, something greater led you here. Write in the comments, "God is restoring my soul," and allow this declaration to be the link of your faith with heaven, for together we will raise a prayer that transcends dimensions. In the early morning of the 20th, when the city rested amidst its own contradictions, she made herself present, not before just anyone, but to someone who works in the shadows of power, someone who knows truths that never reach the people. The Blessed Mother, Our Lady, appeared enveloped in a light that tore through not only the darkness of the night, but also the spiritual darkness of this nation. The account I received from worthy sources brought me to tears because it was not just about consolation, but a warning. Solemn, an urgent call, perhaps the last chance for repentance before the effects of collective choices become irreversible. She appeared in a deep blue cloak carrying the pain, pleas, and tears of an entire people. Her feet touched ground she called sacred, yet wounded by human ambition. Her open hands offered mercy, but also warnings capable of shaking everything you think about the future of the United States. What was revealed about the coming months will not leave your mind at peace, because this was not an ordinary apparition. It was direct, precise, and totally aligned with the time we are living in now. She knew every ruler by name, every decision made, every law signed or rejected, and explained why so many things seem out of order. Declare with faith in the comments, "He has not forgotten me," because this truth will rekindle your hope in divine dominion above any human system. The first sound of her voice broke the silence like a spiritual thunderclap, stating that California was born on consecrated foundations, but is transformed into a center of decisions that distance hearts from God. Her words were not merely about power. She spoke not of politics, but of the soul of an entire nation. She revealed that in the beginning there was a divine plan for that place, a center of discernment and wisdom guided by heaven, but what arose was the opposite. She then declared that she came because the time had come to restore the original purpose. What she exposed about the inner workings of power clarifies why so many promises are never fulfilled, why corruption seems endless, why the people suffer while a few prosper. No one was spared in her words. Leaders who legislate for self-interest, representatives who have forgotten the people, decisions shaped by money and not by justice, a system that feeds on hope but never fulfills it. However, the most surprising part was not about them, it was about you, because this message is not limited to those who govern. It reaches every person watching now. She spoke of a generation being raised up by God at this very moment, a generation that will no longer accept living in deception. Confirm your miracle by writing, "Amen, Lord. I receive your word" in the comments, because you are part of the restoration plan. "I am preparing my children for a new time," she said with eyes that shone like stars, "a time when truth will not be hidden, justice will not be negotiated, and love for one's neighbor will be the foundation of all choices." And when these words were released, something moved in the spiritual world of California and continues to echo to this day. For every heart that sincerely seeks God at this moment is being strengthened in a supernatural way. My beloved children, I approach you with a heart enveloped in tenderness and also in seriousness, because the time calls for attention and discernment. Faced with what has been allowed to be seen, many wonder, many doubt, many are distracted. But I come to speak to the conscience of each one, not to curious eyes, not to hardened hearts. A nation that received so many graces, so many opportunities, and so many signs, has gradually drifted away from its spiritual paths. When the heart of a people turns away from God, pain does not appear overnight. It grows silently, in small choices, in contempt for truth, in the substitution of love for pride, of faith for self-sufficiency. That is why I come to warn, not to cause fear, but to awaken. My children, do not think that these messages are only for a distant place. When one nation goes astray, the echo reaches many others. The world is interconnected by what it carries in its heart. Where faith grows cold, violence it grows. Where spiritual life is abandoned, confusion sets in. Where God is forgotten, man loses himself. That is why I tell you with a mother's voice. Return. Return to a simple and sincere spiritual life. Return to inner silence. Return to listening to your own conscience. Grand speeches and empty gestures are not necessary. What is needed is truth in the heart, humility in actions, and constancy in good. Pray, my children, not as those who repeat meaningless words, but as those who stand before God with open hearts. Prayer transforms homes, changes decisions, and prevents paths of destruction before they even manifest themselves. A people who pray are strengthened. A family that prays stands firm. A heart that prays learns to love again. Do not be deceived by the false securities of this world. Progress without God does not sustain the soul. Freedom without truth becomes imprisonment. Abundance without love generates emptiness. I see many tired, wounded, confused hearts, and that is why I insist. Take care of your spiritual life as you would something precious, because it is what sustains you when everything around you trembles. My children, there is still time. While there is a calling, there is hope. While the heart listens, there is a way. Do not harden your spirit. Do not ridicule the signs. Do not postpone inner conversion. Begin today with small choices, with more love, more faith, and more fidelity. Remain steadfast. I walk with those who choose to return. My care does not abandon those who seek the light, even amidst darkness. Open your hearts, return to God, and you will find again the peace that the world cannot give. Let them descend into your hearts, for it is there that true change begins. I do not come out of worldly curiosity, nor to satisfy human debates. I come because many hearts are turning away from that which sustains the soul, and a mother does not remain silent when she sees her children walking towards danger without realizing it. This warning is born of love. When a nation turns away from spiritual paths, it begins to call normal that which wounds life, dignity, and truth. It begins to confuse freedom with the absence of limits, progress with forgetting God, strength with domination. Little by little, the collective heart hardens, and suffering comes to be seen as something distant until it knocks on its own door. My children, do not think that spiritual estrangement only happens in major political or social decisions. It begins at home when dialogue is lost. It begins in the heart, when pride speaks louder than humility. It begins when inner silence is replaced by constant noise, and God no longer finds space to speak. A nation is made of families, and families are made of daily choices. I see many who say they believe, but live as if God were just an old memory. I see others who no longer believe in anything because they have been hurt, disappointed, or led astray by empty promises. To these, I say, God has not turned away from you. It was the world that taught you to look only outward, forgetting to care for what is within. Returning to spiritual life is not going back to the past, nor living imprisoned by fear. It is rediscovering the center. It is putting God back at the center so that everything else finds its place. When God leaves the center, human beings try to occupy that space. And that is where confusion, division, and pain are born. My children, take care of your souls as you take care of your bodies. Just as the body falls ill when neglected, the soul weakens when it is not nourished by faith, goodness, and truth. Many evils you see today did not arise suddenly. They grew in soil where spiritual life was gradually abandoned. Do not close your eyes to the signs. They are not punishments, but warnings. They are not threats, but invitations to change. God's love always calls before allowing pain, always warns before the fall, always offers a path before the abyss. Listening is a choice. Changing is a personal and collective decision. I ask that you reclaim the value of silence, reflection, and respect for the sacred. Teach children not only to conquer the world, but to care for their hearts. Let adults remember that success without inner peace does not sustain life. Let leaders understand that power without fear of God becomes a burden and ruin. My children, do not nurture hatred, do not normalize violence, do not make error a banner. The world is already tired of divisions. What is lacking is inner conversion, humility to recognize that one has strayed, courage to return to the right path even when it requires renunciation. There is still time. As long as the heart beats, there is a possibility of return. As long as the conscience is alert, there is hope. Do not wait for everything to crumble to seek what is essential. Begin now in small actions, in simple choices, in a heart more open to good. I do not abandon those who decide to return. I walk with those who struggle to remain faithful, even amidst the temptations and confusions of this time. Trust. The light has not disappeared. It has only been obscured by excesses, distractions, and forgetfulness. My children, return to spiritual life. Return to what builds up, to what heals, to what brings true peace. The path is still open. The decision is in your hands. I accompany you with love, but the step must be taken by you. The time in which you live demands spiritual vigilance, discernment, and trust in God. Many battles are not seen by human eyes, but are felt in the heart, in the mind, and in homes. Therefore I tell you, strengthen yourselves, do not walk alone, do not face the invisible with only human strength. Pray, my children, and invoke Saint Michael the Archangel, the defender of light, the one placed by God to combat evil and protect those who seek to remain on the path of truth. When you call upon him with sincere faith, you are not merely calling a name, but awakening a spiritual protection that guards, wards off dangers, and prevents darkness from finding space. Many homes today are weakened because they have neglected their spiritual lives. Evil does not enter all at once. It infiltrates when prayer is abandoned, when forgiveness is forgotten, when faith becomes merely a habit. Therefore I ask you, cover your homes with prayer. Make your houses a place where God is remembered, respected, and welcomed. Saint Michael was sent to protect, to cut off all curses, all infidelity, negative influence, any intention contrary to good that tries to approach you. But remember, my children, protection is strengthened when the heart also seeks to live in goodness. It is not enough to ask for protection if attitudes remain in error. Prayer needs to go hand in hand with inner change. I send my angels to guard those who trust, who persevere, who do not mock the sacred, and who keep their hearts open to the light. Angels do not abandon a home where there is humility, even amidst difficulties. They remain where there is sincere effort to live in truth, respect, and love. Teach your families not to fear evil, but to strengthen themselves against it. Fear paralyzes, but faith protects. When you turn to Saint Michael, when you ask for the guardianship of angels, you reaffirm that you belong to God and do not accept that darkness governs your paths. My children, take care of what enters your homes. Words, thoughts, attitudes. A spiritually protected home is a home where the heart is guarded, where hatred is avoided, where forgiveness is sought even when it hurts. That is how protection remains firm. I walk with you, my care never fails. But be aware, prayer is a shield, faith is strength, and vigilance is necessary. Pray, my children, strengthen yourselves, trust in the protection of Saint Michael the Archangel, and allow my angels to guard every corner of your homes. My beloved children, receive these words as a call for care and vigilance, not as fear, but as guidance from a mother who knows the frailties of her children and also the dangers that often go unnoticed. We live in times when the human heart is easily distracted, and while attention is focused only on the visible, many battles take place in the silence of the spirit. That is why I insist, my children, pray. Do not abandon prayer. Do not leave it for when everything is already too heavy. Prayer is like a light lit in the home. When the light fades, darkness finds room to approach. And among the great defenders that God has placed beside you is Saint Michael the Archangel, the faithful guardian, the fighter for truth, the one who does not retreat in the face of evil. Invoke Saint Michael with confidence, not only in moments of fear, but as a spiritual habit. When you call upon him, you are acknowledging that you need the protection of heaven, that you do not rely solely on your own strength. The humility to ask for spiritual help is a strength, not a weakness. Many do not realize how certain negative influences subtly enter homes. Through lack of dialogue, uncontrolled anger, the constant repetition of harsh words, loss of respect, and absence of forgiveness. These gaps weaken spiritual protection. That is why prayer must go hand in hand with actions that build up, heal, and restore. My children, Saint Michael was placed by God to protect, to cut every bond that does not come from the light, to ward off every curse, every oppression, every intention contrary to good that tries to approach you and your families. But remember, protection is not magic. It is strengthened when the heart chooses good, when the conscience remains vigilant, when faith is not just words, but daily practice. Ask that your homes be guarded by my angels. They walk silently, but they are attentive. They guard doors, protect paths, inspire decisions, and ward off dangers that you don't even perceive. A home where the protection of heaven is invoked becomes a refuge, even amidst the tribulations of the world. Teach your children to respect the sacred, not to mock faith, to understand that spiritual life is as important as any material achievement. A protected home is one where it is recognized that God is greater than any problem, and that evil has no authority where there is sincere faith. Do not allow spiritual weariness to take hold. Many say they don't have time to pray, but they find time for so many distractions that only empty the soul. Prayer doesn't steal time. It restores meaning. It organizes the inner self, strengthens the mind, and brings peace to the heart. My children, take care of the spiritual environment of your homes. Pray for one another even when you disagree. Bless your homes with words of peace. Do not fuel constant arguments. Do not let resentment take deep root. Where there is rancor, protection weakens. Where there is forgiveness, the angels remain. Trust in Saint Michael the Archangel as your defender, but also trust in the inner transformation that God expects from each one of you. True protection begins within the heart and extends to the home, to the family, and to all who dwell there. I am with you. I cover with my care those who persevere, who do not give up on faith even when everything seems heavy. Do not feel alone. Pray, my children, strengthen yourselves spiritually. Invoke Saint Michael and allow my angels to guard your homes, your paths, and your decisions. The world cries out, even though many do not want to hear. Wars, destruction, hatred, and confusion spread like a dense shadow, reaching nations, homes, and consciences. What you see is not just human conflict. It is the reflection of hearts that have turned away from the light and chosen to walk without God. I speak to you as a mother who observes her children wounded, divided, and weary. The chaos that manifests in the visible world is born first within people. When faith is abandoned, when truth is relativized, when love is replaced by pride and the thirst for power, a dimension of darkness begins to expand, silent at first, devastating later. My children, do not deceive yourselves into thinking that all this is distant or that it will not reach you. Evil spreads when it finds indifference, when it finds hearts that are spiritually asleep. Many have become accustomed to violence, to news of death, to the suffering of others, as if it were something normal. But it is not normal. It wasn't. This is what God dreamed for humanity. That is why I tell you urgently and tenderly. It is time for faith. Not tomorrow, not when everything is already in ruins, but now. Faith is what sustains when the structures of the world tremble. Faith is what keeps the heart firm when fear tries to dominate. Faith is what prevents you from being swallowed up by this dimension of chaos that grows where God is forgotten. Do not let despair find a home in you. Fear paralyzes, but faith illuminates. When you trust in God, even amidst wars and destruction, you become points of light in a world that darkens. A faithful heart prevents evil from advancing further than it is allowed. My children, strengthen your spiritual life. Return to sincere prayer, to inner conversion, to vigilance of the heart. Do not nurture hatred. Do not let yourselves be contaminated by the violence you see. Do not repeat the language of destruction. Be different. Be those who build while many destroy, who forgive while many attack, who trust while many despair. Teach your children that faith is not an escape from reality, but strength to face it. A world without faith becomes dehumanized. People without God lose their way. But where there are still hearts that believe, that pray, and that choose good, hope remains alive. My children, do not wait for the worst to happen to awaken. The signs are already before you. There is still time for change, there is still time for return, there is still time to protect what is essential. God continues to offer mercy, but He respects the freedom of each heart. Remain steadfast. Open your eyes, but do not let darkness steal your hope. Open your hearts, strengthen your faith, and walk in the light. I am with you, but the decision to remain in God must be daily. Have faith, my children. Faith will be the refuge in difficult times and the strength that will keep them standing before the world understands how far it has strayed from what truly saves. My beloved children, I ask that you do not close your hearts to these words. Do not receive them with indifference, nor as something distant, for what happens in the outside world reflects what has long been cultivated within souls. Look around, my children, contemplate seriously what is spreading across the earth. Wars that do not cease, destruction that repeats itself, divided peoples, hardened hearts, lives treated as numbers. All this forms a scenario of chaos that surpasses the visible and reaches profound spiritual dimensions. The world screams, even when many pretend not to hear. Violence has become commonplace. The pain of others no longer moves as before, and truth is constantly exchanged for interests and conveniences. When a generation loses the sense of the sacred, it also begins to lose respect for life, for dignity, and for others. This is how darkness finds room to grow. My children, do not think that these wars are born only from weapons and human strategies. They are born first in the heart, when love is replaced by pride, when dialogue gives way to hatred, when God is removed from the center and man comes to occupy a place that does not belong to him. Spiritual estrangement generates confusion, and confusion generates destruction. I see many hearts consumed by fear, others by indifference, and many by revolt. But I tell you, none of these answers heals the world. Fear paralyzes, indifference allows evil to advance, and revolt blinds. What transforms is living faith, the kind that leads to conversion, inner vigilance, and true love. Therefore, I ask you with a mother's urgency, strengthen your faith before the worst happens. Do not wait for chaos to knock on the door of your homes to seek God. Do not wait for personal pain to awaken what the signs of the world already announce. Faith needs to be cultivated in times of relative calm, so that it may sustain you when everything trembles. My children, many wonder where God is in the face of so much destruction. God is where He has always been, offering light, mercy, and paths of return. But He respects human freedom. When man rejects the light, he reaps darkness. When he despises the truth, he lives in confusion. When he abandons love, he experiences emptiness. Do not allow your hearts to become accustomed to chaos. Do not normalize what wounds the soul. Do not accept as inevitable that which is born from a lack of faith. Every heart that returns to God weakens this dimension of darkness that tries to expand over the world. Be vigilant, my children. Take care of what feeds your thoughts, what comes out of your words, what guides your decisions. A disordered heart contributes to a disordered world. But a heart at peace, even amidst tribulations, becomes a point of balance and light. Strengthen the spiritual life in your homes. Reclaim the value of prayer, silence, and inner listening. Teach children that faith is not a burden, but a protection. Show young people that true freedom is born from truth, not from the absence of limits. Remind adults that success without God does not sustain the soul and does not save a nation. My children, there is still time. While there is awareness, there is the possibility of change. While there is a calling, there is mercy. But do not delay the return. The world is already giving clear signs of how far it has strayed from its spiritual paths. And the further it strays, the more fragile it becomes. Do not let despair overwhelm you. Faith does not ignore reality, but faces it with hope. Be firm, be constant, be faithful. Even if many choose the broad path of indifference, choose the narrow path of faith. I walk with those who persevere. I sustain those who do not give up, even surrounded by a world in confusion. Open your eyes to the signs, but keep your hearts anchored in God. That is how you will remain standing, even when everything around you seems to crumble. Have faith, my children. Strong, let them embrace faith now. It will be their refuge, their light, and their strength before the world understands the consequences of turning away from what truly saves.